Am I the a-hole for not giving my stepsister my half of her mother's life insurance? Hello, this is actually happening to my husband right now, but he asked me to post. So my husband 47M had a stepmom who was 81 and just recently passed away at the beginning of March. His father, who she was married to, passed away when my husband was 19. He passed away of cancer and knew it was coming, so he revised a will for his then wife and only child, my husband. The will was a little unusual. It stated that the home my husband's father owned would belong to both my husband and his current wife. However, his wife would be allowed to be the sole resident until she passed or decided to move out. Then the sole ownership would go to my husband. His wife was not allowed to will the home to her children or relatives. I'm not sure the term for this. It's like she owned it, but didn't fully own it. The reason behind this was my husband's father was rather vindictive. He didn't care for his ex-wife very much, my husband's mother, and he didn't like his own stepkids either. So in the chance he passed while my husband was still under the age of 18, his ex-wife would have no sway over his son or the house, seeing as his current wife would have it, and her kids would never have it, as when she passed it would go to my husband. When his father passed, his stepmother gathered a few of his things up in garbage bags and left them on the porch of his dad's house for him and wouldn't let him inside. She also wouldn't let him have his TV, his pictures, his video games, or his childhood toys. He's sure those went to her grandkids. He said that was the last time she spoke to him, and her last words to him were, "The TV stays." So that was 28 years ago. Fast forward to today. His stepmother passed away. Her daughter, female 60s, tried to and unsuccessfully get half the house. She has no claim according to the lawyers she spoke to, so there's now a little bad blood between her and my husband, but he's trying to remain amicable. Her mother just passed, and while he didn't like her, it was her mother. However, we were contacted by his late stepmother's insurance company. Because she didn't name a beneficiary on the policy, my husband is entitled to half the payout. We don't know how much it is yet. His stepsister is furious and thinks it's unfair. She wants my husband to collect his half and give it to her. He is torn. He knows his stepmother kept all of his father's life insurance, even though she was trusted to give some to him. She kept most of his belongings and kept him out of his father's home. So he's bitter. Legally the money is his, but he feels like morally it might not be. His stepmother hated him and she would have never named him on her policy. Would he be the a-hole if he kept the money?
Here are the top comments.
Morally and legally, the money is his. Keep the money and just block the stepsister, not the a-hole. Screw her. She tried to take the house from him, so she has shown she would take it all if she could.
Your husband isn't the a-hole for keeping the money. It's legally his, and given how his stepmother mistreated him, it's understandable he feels conflicted. She didn't treat him fairly, and the payout is a result of her own failure to properly manage her policy. The money is rightfully his.
Am I the a-hole for asking my brother to pay to use the family cabin after he refused to help restore it? A few years ago, my 35M grandparents passed away and left behind a beautiful but very run-down lakeside cabin. It had been in our family for generations, but by the time it was passed down, it was in rough shape. The wood was rotting, the roof leaked, and the plumbing was ancient. My parents, not wanting the hassle, offered it to my younger brother, Matt 30M first, since he had always talked about how much he loved the place growing up. At first, Matt was excited, but when he saw the actual state of the cabin, he quickly changed his mind. The renovations would cost tens of thousands of dollars, and the upkeep was more than he was willing to commit to. He told my parents that he wasn't in a position to take on such a big project and that it was too much work for a vacation home. So they turned to me. I thought about it for a while, and even though I knew it would be a lot of work, I loved that cabin. I spent almost every summer there as a kid, fishing with my grandpa and roasting marshmallows with my cousins. It meant something to me. So, I took it. The thing is, taking ownership wasn't just signing some papers, it was years of work and tens of thousands of dollars. I had to replace the roof, reinforce the foundation, fix the plumbing, and completely redo the deck, which was one bad storm away from collapsing. It became my after-work project, but it also became a major financial commitment. Every spare dollar I had went into fixing up that place. I've asked my family to help out many times, whether financially or physically with labor, but no one ever did. Fast forward to a few years later, and Matt reaches out saying he and his wife want to take their kids on a summer vacation and would love to use the cabin for a week. I told him sure, but he'd need to contribute $500 to cover utilities and general wear and tear. He flipped out. He said I was being greedy for charging my family and that the grandparents wouldn't want the cabin to be a business. I reminded him that he had the chance to take ownership, and he chose not to because he didn't want the responsibility. Now that I've poured my time and money into making it a livable space, it's not fair for him to expect a free vacation just because we share blood. He argued that it's not like you're paying rent on it and you were gonna be there anyway. But that's not the point. If I let him stay for free, where do I draw the line? Do I have to offer it to every cousin, uncle, or second cousin twice removed who wants a weekend getaway? If Matt contributes nothing but gets free access, doesn't that mean I'm basically paying for his vacation? Now our mom is involved, saying I should do the right thing because family helps family. I told her that Matt was offered the cabin first, and he said no because it was too much work. I had then asked for financial or physical help, and he also denied. He didn't want to deal with the responsibilities, he just wants the benefits now that I've taken on all the costs. Matt hasn't spoken to me since, and our mom keeps telling me I'm being unfair. Am I the a-hole for expecting him to chip in, or is he just entitled?
Here are the top comments.
Not the a-hole. Matt didn't contribute, Mom didn't contribute, so between them they have zero say and you should have zero to give.
Not the a-hole. He did nothing to help restore and maintain the property. If you are now the legal owner, no one gets a say in who does or doesn't get to stay there or if they have to pay or not. Tell Mom to butt out. If they had maintained it, you wouldn't have had to sunk so much money into it to begin with.
Am I the a-hole for bringing my daughter to a child-free wedding? Hi everyone, I'm a 19-year-old mom to my beautiful 2-year-old daughter, Amelia. Just a bit of backstory. Last year, I was asked to be a bridesmaid in a family friend's wedding. I was thrilled and immediately said yes, even though it was a child-free event. I had arranged for a babysitter, but about a week before the wedding, she informed me that she would no longer be in the city and couldn't watch my daughter. Given the short notice, I approached the bride and asked if I could bring Amelia to the wedding, as I didn't have time to find another trusted babysitter. My daughter is overall a very easygoing baby. She's comfortable with people and happy as long as she's fed. The bride knew this since she'd watched my daughter on multiple occasions before, and she happily agreed, saying that having Amelia there would make the wedding photos even more special. The wedding was going smoothly, though I noticed a few stares from the groom's parents. Amelia stayed with my sisters for most of the day, but during the reception, I took her with me to congratulate the couple. As I approached Amelia in my arms, the groom's mother suddenly commented, "You shouldn't have brought a baby to a child-free wedding, especially when she doesn't fit the family." I was completely taken aback. For context, my daughter is mixed. I'm half white and half Hispanic, and her father is black. I've been called whitewashed because I'm not in contact with my Hispanic family, so I knew exactly what she meant by saying my daughter didn't fit the family. The bride looked shocked, and the groom immediately stood up and led his parents away. Taking this as my cue, I decided it was time to leave. I made the rounds to say goodbye to everyone and put Amelia in her stroller. As I was leaving, the bride came over to apologize for her in-law's behavior. I was upset, but I knew it wasn't her fault, so I simply wished her luck and left. Now, about a week after the wedding, I got tagged in a Facebook post strangely, because I don't use Facebook. The post read, "I'm outraged that my grandchildren weren't allowed at this event, but when a teen mother who couldn't be responsible enough to leave her child with the father brings her baby, it's perfectly fine." The post was from the groom's mother. To make things worse, she's also been telling family members that I'm lying about what she said regarding my daughter's appearance. So now I'm wondering, am I the a-hole?
Here are the top comments.
Not the a-hole. You had childcare that backed out. You cleared it with the bride who had no problem with it. This is absolutely none of the mother's business. I'm also guessing the child-free rule was probably set because of mother of groom's grandchildren.
Not the a-hole. To be honest, part of me really want to say no a-hole here because I kinda think the grandmother is justified in being upset, but she should have been upset with the bride and not you. Because it is a little messed up the grooms I assume nieces and nephews couldn't come but the bride's friend child can.
Not the a-hole. Sounds like the groom's mother was upset by the no kids policy and wrongly took it out on you. It also sounds like the groom's mother is a dim-witted racist dingus.